Hiya and welcome back to the Habit Hacker podcast. Today's episode is going to be a little bit more of an interactive one. So if you're watching, hiya. If you're listening, also hiya. I'm going to take you through everything I've got written on the whiteboard behind us. So if you are just listening through audio, you're not going to miss out on anything. But if you are watching, it's going to be a little bit more interactive. So today's episode is going to be about how to lose weight and tone up. And these last two words are so unbelievably important. The reason being is that I've spoken to hundreds of people, whether that be clients, previous clients, people on social media, who have lost 2, 3, 4 stone in the past, but have got to their body weight goal and have stood in front of the mirror and thought to themselves, I look a bit skinny and gaunt and undernourished, and they've put all that hard work in of sacrificing and restricting their food and being a bit more active just to get to where they wanted to be, and they've lost their curves and their definition. So I'm going to show you over the next 20 minutes, half an hour, exactly how to lose weight, but when you get there, look, feel and perform your very, very best. You're proud of your reflection in the mirror, mentally you've got good energy, you're feeling good, and you're absolutely thriving in your personal, professional, and your relationships within your life. So, first things first is we're going to cover 5 key habits. And these 5 key habits are, shock, the 5 habits that we look and prioritize at Thrive on the Habit Hacker system, which are eating habits, training habits, activity habits, sleep habits, and stress and mindfulness habits. If you can get those 5 on lock, you will be a very happy and healthy human being who will live for a very, very long time. So the one that we're going to start with is going to be your eating habits, because look, you can't out-train a bad diet, you can't outstep a bad diet, you can't outrun a bad diet. So of course, when we live in the world that we live in now, which is what's called an obese energetic environment, which is basically primed to get you to move less and to eat more, it's very, very easy just to eat and not stop. So that's where we're going to start. How much to eat is the most important thing above all else. Calories, energy balance. If you want to know a little bit more about energy balance, I think it was the 4th podcast that I recorded, goes into that in detail. But just to give you a little bit of a rough rule of thumb, what you want to work out your calorie target is your body weight in pounds times either 10, 11 or 12, depending on how active you are. So if you have a sedentary job, you work in an office, you don't really do many steps, you don't really do much exercise, you don't really maybe do much sport or any kind of like gym or training sessions around that, I would times your body weight in pounds times 10. Super simple and easy. Now, if you're someone with a more active job, you are maybe like a plumber or a mechanic or something that involves a lot of steps, you either play football or paddle and stuff outside of work, you go to the gym a couple of times a week, I'll probably times it by 12. And then if you're in the middle of that, times it by 11. So for me, I am active. I do roughly around 16,000 to 17,000 steps a day. I go for about maybe like a 5k run or a bike ride every week. I train in the gym 4 times at a good intensity. So I'm going to do my body weight, which is 170 pounds, 168 pounds, times 12, which gives me roughly around 2,100 calories. And that is just a guesstimate. And this is something that I want to make so clear that it rings through your ears for years to come. Any calorie calculation that you get given or you do yourself, and you can use my little easy calorie calculator, or you can go online and use the Harris Benedict one, or any other kind of scientific calorie calculators you can use, it's just a guesstimate. It's just that calculation trying to estimate how many calories that you burn. So the easiest and the simplest way you can know whether your calorie target is right for you and it is working is to track your body weight. And let us tell you how simple and easy this can be. You're going to do this little calculation and work out your rough calorie deficit targets. Once you have your calorie target for your calorie deficit, you're going to weigh yourself every day. You're going to do that on a morning before consuming anything, after going to the toilet. And this is for a couple of reasons. So the first one is that this is going to be your baseline weight. It's where you put the least amount of water in your system. You haven't ate or drank anything, you've just been to the toilet, and you're going to weigh yourself. And what that's going to do is tell us what your body weight, of course, is for that day. Now you're going to do that every day across the week so that you can have 7 data point entries. You're going to have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you're going to add all your data up, so all those entries up, all your body weight data entries up, and you're going to divide them by how many there are. So ideally 7, because you've ideally weighed yourself 7 days of the week, but if it's any less than that, divide them by how many data entries that you've got. And what that's going to do is give you an average body weight for that week. And all you're looking to do is to get last week's body weight to be a little bit higher than this week's. So the body weight's coming down week after week, and it's coming down in that downwards trajectory. Now, if your body weight stays the same over the course of a 3-week period, and it does not move, it stays exactly the same, or it teeters maybe by 0.1 or 0.2 of a kilo, you have not lost any weight. You have not been in a calorie deficit. Because your body weight must come down, basic physics, you can't lose something, you can't lose weight off something if something stays the same weight. You cannot lose that weight if the body weight isn't coming down. And always people ask us this, they're like, Adam, well, if I'm building muscle and losing fat, can that not counteract each other? Short answer is no. Because we can lose body fat far, far quicker than we can build muscle tissue. So even if you are building muscle, your body weight still should be coming down. Maybe it's not as fast. That's why I always say a pound per week is amazing progress when it comes to toning up and fat loss. But we do want that body weight to be coming down nice and gradually as the weeks go on. But that's how you know your calorie target is working, and that's how you know whether you're in a calorie deficit or not. Now, secondly to that is that everything that you eat, every food, every drink that you consume is made up of fats, carbs, and protein. Fats, carbs, and protein. Everything is made up of your macronutrients. So it begs the question, to make up this 2100 calories, for me, if I was doing this for myself, how do I split my macronutrients up for those calories? Well, first things first is we're going to focus on protein, because protein is the most important macronutrient out of all 3. Why? You're probably thinking, why is it the most important? Firstly, it makes every pound that you lose body fat and not muscle tissue. And remember what I said at the start, is that if you lose your muscle tissue whilst you are dieting, you're going to get there and you're going to get your body weight goal and think, I don't look how I want to. I don't have that confidence that I thought I was going to have after losing it. So, makes every pound that you lose body fat and not muscle tissue. Big tick. Secondly, protein is very satiating, which means it makes you feel full after you've ate the meal and you feel satisfied, but it also keeps you full for a long period of time, which kind of segues us in nicely to the next point, which is has a high thermic effect of food. So in layman's terms, you basically use a lot of calories through the digestion of protein because it's quite hard for your body to break down. And lastly and finally is its role and importance on growth and repair. So from your training sessions, making sure that when you train, you're recovering, you're not just training and overtraining and excessively exercising to the point where you stimulate the muscle and the muscle's like, give me nutrients. And you're just like, no, I'm training you again. You're not going to get the best results. More importantly than that, you're probably going to head straight for illness or injury because you're excessively exercising. I digress. So protein-wise, plethora of reasons why it's the most important out of fats, carbs, and protein. Now, how much protein to eat? Well, super simple and easy again. Body weight in pounds times 1. So roughly about 1 gram per pound of body weight is how much protein you want to be eating. However, if you're female, a good rough rule of thumb is between 100 and 120 grams of protein. Again, if you are a heavier person, you're holding a little bit more body fat than you initially want, then, as I say, go off your height rather than your weight because it will skew with the calculation slightly. So body weight in pounds times 1. So body weight in pounds times 1, which is 168 grams of protein. And you're probably thinking, do I eat that in 1 sitting? Do I spread that out in 2 sittings? Do I eat that in 17 sittings? Well, let us cover it for you. So this graph here is basically protein in grams on this side and time in hours along the bottom. So the number 1 reason why I have found when I've coached over 300 clients in my coaching experience that they don't hit their daily protein target is because they leave getting any protein in until midday. So that means you've got probably about 7 hours to eat 170 grams of protein, which I would not advise. So the best way to counteract that is to what we call front load protein. And this is one of the strategies we implement on the bioalignment method, which means getting 30 to 40 grams of good quality protein, good complete protein sources in at breakfast. So for example, it could be eggs, it could be protein, whey protein, so like protein powder, protein puddings or mousses or yogurts, Greek yogurt, can all be really, really good quality protein sources to get in on a morning. You could eat chicken or beef, but personally, not for me when I've just opened my eyes. But nonetheless, within the first 2 hours of waking, you want to get at least 30 to 40 grams of protein in. Another reason for that is because you've probably been asleep, hopefully, for 7 to 9 hours. Therefore, you can't eat when you're asleep. Your body's craving those nutrients when you wake up. Next, in terms of spreading those out, is just making sure that we have protein in the morning within 2 hours of waking, and then at least 25 grams of protein every 4 to 5 hours after that. Why? Because this is what stimulates something called muscle protein synthesis, MPS, muscle protein synthesis, which is your body's metabolic pathway, your body's system of regenerating and building and growing muscle tissue. And that is stimulated by muscle protein synthesis. Now, this chain reaction cannot happen unless protein is present. Unless those amino acids are there, your body physically cannot build or maintain muscle mass. So, one thing I want you to know off the back of that is you're either in a positive or a negative protein balance. Positive or negative protein balance. You are either in an anabolic state where you are growing and repairing tissue and your body's in a positive protein balance, or you are in what's called a catabolic state where you're basically breaking down tissue and you are in a negative protein balance. So with that, to make sure we are always in that positive protein balance in keeping your muscle tissue, we want to eat roughly minimum 25 grams of protein every 4 to 5 hours. But if your protein target's a little bit higher, like mine is, that's probably going to be at least 35 grams to 40 grams of protein every 4 to 5 hours. Protein ticked off. Next, we're going to cover fat, because protein and fat are both essential macronutrients. Carbs aren't essential. Therefore, they're not unimportant. Same with alcohol, pets and holidays. They all are very, very important for a happy, healthy life, but they aren't essential. So fat is essential. Fat and protein are essential, which just means if you don't eat a sufficient amount of fat and protein through your diet, you would eventually pop your clogs. You would eventually die. But again, that's very, very, very unlikely to happen in the modern day world. However, fat is important for a few reasons. For your brain health, for your hormone health, and making sure as well that you're keeping satiated and you're getting enough good quality fats in to support a happy, healthy human being and a human body and a human brain. So, fat we can split into 2 different categories. We have unsaturated fat on one side and we have saturated fat on the other side. So if we were wanting to choose one of these fats to predominantly eat in our diet, we would want unsaturated fat, so nutritious, healthy fats. So think of avocado, peanut butter, 70% minimum dark chocolate, olive oil. Have I said olive oil? Not sure, might have. Olive oil. We've got like higher fatty meats, so like chicken thigh instead of chicken breast. Cheese, you can get some really good unsaturated fat cheese. And all of these things are going to constitute and build up, as well as obviously like freshwater fish is quite high in fat, so like salmon, sea bass, etc. are going to support your brain and your hormone health, which is super, super important when we look at things like hormones like testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. All these things are key drivers of your mood, energy, your performance, recovery, etc. So making sure we get a minimum is very important. So if you're male, you want to times your body weight in pounds times 0.3, and if you're female, times your body weight in pounds times 0.4, and you want a little bit more fat because a female's hormonal profile is a lot more turbulent than a male's, and you need more healthy fats for that reason. So for me, my body weight in pounds times 0.3 is roughly about 51 grams, there or thereabouts, but that is a minimum. That is a minimum target that I'm aiming for. I'll probably cap that at around probably about 90 grams, there or thereabouts. And then the discretionary calories are going to be made up of carbohydrates. And just a little bit of a side note is that the only difference between you being in a muscle building phase where you're prioritizing muscle growth And a fat loss phase, where you're prioritizing fat loss, is the amount of carbohydrates you get to eat. Fat and protein pretty much stay the same, and it's carbs, those discretionary calories, which either go up or down depending on what phase you're in and what your goal is. So carbs, of course, are going to be important for your energy. You're going to make sure that your performances in the gym are good. Cognition, so your brain, when that looks for energy, it looks at the carbohydrates first, and it just makes sure that you're not, as I say, just lethargic, tired, weak, can't concentrate. Getting at least some carbs in is very, very important. However, not essential, hence why we don't have minimum targets for the carbs. That's the one that we want to pull out, if any, when we're looking to tone up and keep your muscle and wash off the body fat. Macronutrients, dusted. Second thing we're going to cover is training. So eating habits is your first one. Second one is going to be training. So lifting 3 to 5 times per week. Because if you've got a full-time job, you've got a partner, you've got pets, you've got a house, you've got kids to look after, you've got the whole shebang, then look, it's going to be a challenge for you getting 3 to 5 sessions in, full stop. Never mind doing any sort of maybe cardio or sports or anything else around that in your week. So that begs the question, if you're going to train 3 times, what does your split look like? What do your workouts consist of? 4 times, what does that look like? Or 5 times, does that change? It does. So let us explain. If you're training 3 times per week, I would advise doing 3 full body workouts. So you're stimulating each muscle group 3 times across the week to get you the best results, especially if you're a beginner. Full body workouts are your way forward. Even if it is 4 times a week, I would still do full body if you haven't really followed a structured, progressive training program before. Secondly, 4 times a week. This is exactly how I train, with an upper lower split. And then finally is 5 times a week, which I would probably program is push pull legs, upper lower. So upper legs, upper lower, just to kind of break that down. Now, in these sessions, I want you to focus on 2 things which are really, really important. The first one is something called progressive overload, which just means that the workouts, the stimulus, the workouts must get harder over time for your body to adapt and change and grow. Because listen to this, if the workouts stay the same and you would just do the same workout, the same reps, sets, weights, week after week after week for months and months and months on end, then your body would stay the same. Because the stimulus must get harder over time for your body to become bigger, fitter, faster and stronger. So that means each week recording your sets, reps and weights, and then the week after looking back at the weights that you've tracked and your performances to know exactly how you've beaten yourself. Because if you aren't progressively overloading, you're not going to be getting anywhere near the best results that you possibly can, and you're not going to be toning up and losing weight. And we want to avoid getting to your body weight goal and being disappointed. We want to feel and look incredible as you lose the body fat but keep the muscle tissue. So resistance training, progressive overload is the first strategy. The second one is going to be something called slow eccentric loading. SEL. Again, another strategy we coach in the bioalignment method. So slow eccentric loading just means any exercise that you do, you are taking it through a stretching and a squeezing phase, so a lengthening and a shortening phase under load. That's all you're doing at the gym, is just taking your muscles through their range of motion, through how much they can move under some form of resistance. Now there's a specific type of technique, so slow eccentric loading, that I want you to focus on to maximize your muscle growth. So we know from the scientific literature that the stretching part of the movement, so on that it's as, on a pushing movement, as the weight comes in towards you, so imagine a bench press, the weight coming down towards my chest, that's the stretch. And then on a pulling movement, it's as, so again, imagine a row, as the movement comes away from me, the muscle stretches. We want to slow that down because it tears more muscle fibers and in turn creates us better results. So what I want you to do is take a bicep curl, for example, come up and drive nice and powerfully and as fast as you can to get that muscle to shorten. And then once the muscle is shortened and squeezed, you want to slowly lengthen that muscle under load. And that's what we call slow eccentric loading. Making sure that the stretching phase is nice and controlled. So with that, this one will make you get the best pump that you've ever felt, where the muscle feels like it's going to pop out the skin. But 2, the DOMS, the delayed onset muscle soreness, you're going to experience the day after and the day after that, be nothing like you've ever experienced before. It is insane. So slow eccentric loading and progressive overload in your sessions. Now, we must respect that the heart is a muscle as well. And it's a pretty important muscle because if it stops, then you're going to be brown bread. So we need to prioritize some form of way of getting the heart rate up and actually getting your heart beating and working hard. So in my opinion, the best bet for you to do is to pick up a sport that you haven't done in a while, or a sport that you just love and you just kind of look forward to doing it, because it removes the cardio and the exercise side of it, and it just makes you go because you actually enjoy it and it's fun. Because if you don't enjoy the plan that you're going to make for your weight loss and toning up results, then you're not going to stick to it. But if you do enjoy it, guess what? You do fucking stick to it. So when we're looking at any sort of cardio, I would advise you to pick up a sport because it's enjoyable, it's fun, and it takes the cardio part out of it. Now, I put run if you enjoy it, because I do like to go maybe for a 5k run every now and again. Nothing longer than that, just a 5k. However, if you don't enjoy it, as I say, don't plug it in. Focus on steps, which I'm going to come to in a second. But a note on the cardio side of stuff is don't think that it's the more the better. Because what you're going to do is end up overtraining, overstimulating your muscles and excessively exercising, which is just going to lead you into burnout, getting an injury, or picking up an illness. And of course, we have to respect that training and recovering is how you get the best results. And it's how you're going to get to a position where this is a forever thing that you can always progress with, and not something that you work on for a couple of weeks and it's forgotten about. Again, your health is a lifelong problem, and it's something that we must manage on a daily, weekly basis. Otherwise, it does take care of us. And it is a hard way of putting it, but it's the truth. So, sport, if you don't enjoy those, don't stress. Running, if you don't enjoy that, don't stress. I don't really enjoy running, Christ. I would definitely focus on your steps, because steps are super low fatiguing and still make sure you can recover from your workouts and actual resistance training. But don't require, as I say, a lot of energy. They don't accumulate a lot of fatigue. And they are really, really good for burning and getting you in a calorie deficit and burning fat. So, cardio-wise, yes, if you enjoy it, do it. Don't go excessive with it. I would prefer you to focus on your steps, because yes, they're less fatiguing. Yes, they don't take much energy, but also the benefit of getting yourself outside and being out in the open world and in nature aren't just going to benefit your physical health, but they're going to astronomically benefit your mental and emotional health as well. For a couple of reasons. Vitamin D, so getting yourself outside and getting sunlight on your skin and in your eyes, is going to massively help you with your energy. It's going to help you with your bone health, like all sorts of stuff. Also, being out in the open world, your problems feel a lot smaller than they do when you're inside your office or your house, or what I like to call your cage, where your problems feel a lot bigger when your environment's smaller. Also, it's going to help with accumulating dopamine and serotonin, which are two of your feel-good hormones, when you're out in the open world, and you just feel better. Google the word biophilia and then come back to us and try and argue that you're not meant to be outside. And as a little side tangent, and some of the research that I've just been figuring and looking through personally, is that when humans first started living on planet Earth, they spent 85% of their time outside. Guess how much time, on average, humans spend outside in modern day society? 7%. Mind blown. Anyways, the more steps you can do, the better. Basically, the less you can sit on your arse, the faster and the better your fat loss results are going to be. Simple as that. Now, what I've highlighted here is SSS, which stands for the Sneaky Step Strategy. And this is exactly what we implement on the bioalignment method, where I show you how to increase your activity levels without adding any more time into your busy day. And I'll give you two of the strategies straight off the top of my head. There are 10. I'll give you two. First one is parking further away from the shops when you do your food shop, or when you go to the supermarket, that is a food shop, or when you go to the shopping centre. So when me and Gabby go to Aldi every Wednesday, we will literally park in the car park furthest away from the entrance of the shop. Two reasons. First one is that people don't open their car door and smash your car door with theirs and end up getting a scratch or a dent in the side of your car door. Secondly, is that you get more steps in, so it's a double win. So again, get yourself parking further away, game changer. Secondly, is doing steps in your rest periods when you're training. I can rack up 1,500 to 2,000 extra steps every time that I work out just by doing walking, just by doing laps around the machine, or the gym is a little bit less busy, doing laps around the actual gym whilst I'm resting in my rest periods. As I say, I can still recover, doesn't fatigue us, gets us more steps in, win-win all round. So that's your steps sorted. And again, as a rough general rule, just if you're like, oh Adam, I've got a smartwatch and I love tracking my steps and I love having a daily minimum target, I would say for good fat loss results, you're looking at around 10,000 per day. Roughly about 10,000 a day, and that will support more vitamin D exposure. You'll have a better sleep cycle because you're going to be physically tiring your body out. It'll be, I'd say, astronomical for your results. Now, nutrition, training, and steps and activity levels all taken care of. Now, the reason why I've left these two last and I've put them at the bottom is because sleep and stress are your two fundamental pillars which support your training, nutrition, and your activity levels. And what I mean by that is that if you're sleep deprived and you are not getting enough sleep, you're getting less than 6 hours, and you are very stressed because your boss is breathing down your neck and you've got a to-do list longer than my noodle arms combined, then look, you're going to find it very difficult to stick to your training program and your nutrition targets full stop. So we must make sure that we're focused on getting enough sleep and managing our stress in productive ways. And let's just cover that for you. So sleep-wise, I've wrote important next to it because it's considered the key pillar of good health alongside a nutritious diet and a good exercise program. Why? Because we can't flush out the fatigue that we build throughout the day whilst we're awake. We must be asleep to be able to do that. With that in mind, we want to aim for around 7 to 9 hours of good quality sleep every 24-hour period. And listen to this. Humans are the only species on planet Earth who sleep deprive themselves on purpose. And any organism that lives longer than a week has a sleep cycle. Yeah, I'll leave that one with you. But nonetheless, we want 7 to 9 hours every 24 hours for 5 reasons. I'm going to list these off the top of my head because I know how impactful sleep can be. The first one is your immune health. So for you not to fall ill as frequently, or if you do fall ill, to recover much fucking faster, you must have good immune health. And that is massively regulated by how much sleep you get. Second one is appetite. So we have 2 hunger hormones. We have ghrelin, which signals when you are hungry, and we have leptin, which signals when you are full. If you are sleep deprived, it is a double-edged sword. You will secrete more ghrelin so that you feel more hungry more often throughout the day. And you will also secrete less leptin, so when you do eat, you don't feel as full or satisfied after the meal. So a double-edged sword for weight gain, not weight loss. Third one is cognition, decision-making, attention span, focus, memory. All of these things boil down to getting enough quality sleep. Next is going to be performance. So again, if you want to be able to beat yourself week after week, you want to be able to push and feel strong and actually get muscles start building, we need to have good performances in the gym. And then finally is your recovery. Like I mentioned at the start, we cannot flush out the fatigue we build up during the day whilst we are awake. Sleep is your number one recovery tool, bar none. Now, how do we actually improve your sleep quality and duration? Of course, 2 things I'm going to give you. First one is sleep hygiene. So sleep hygiene doesn't just necessarily focus on the fact of changing your bedding every couple of weeks, which I would advise to do, because of course you don't want to be getting into a stinky, sweaty bed, but that is just one part of the puzzle. So it's changing your bedding every couple of weeks. Second one is to make the bedroom cold, dark, and quiet, because your body has to drop by around 1 degree Celsius for you to actually fall asleep. So making sure it's dark, it's cold, it's quiet, is making sure that you're priming the environment for you to actually get into that state of unconsciousness. Next is to avoid psych arousal before bed. So don't watch anything which is people getting fucking decapitated or like people dying and stuff on the telly, or something that's going to really kind of like psych you up. Like watching a horror movie before you try to go to bed is the worst possible thing you can do. And lastly and finally is something what I want to call a digital detox. Again, another strategy we implement in the bioalignment method, which is basically having a wind down routine before bed. So 45 minutes, maybe it's an hour before you're meant to go to sleep, so you can get 7 to 9 hours before your alarm goes off. we want to make sure that we are dimming the lights. Ideally, no above head light on, just use lamps or candles if you want to save electricity. I don't know. And yeah, you want to make sure that the lights are being dimmed. You are having a wind down routine in the sense of you aren't watching anything massively stimulating on the telly, and just, as I say, trying to avoid blue light. So TVs, tablets, laptops, phones all emit blue light when you're looking at their screens, and that blue light is fed into your eyes, and your eyes are directly connected to your brain by your retinal nerve, which blocks the release of melatonin. And melatonin is the key hormone responsible for you falling asleep and staying asleep during the night. So if you are looking at your phone or watching the telly literally all the way up until the minute that you shut your eyes and fall asleep, your sleep quality and duration is going to be much worse than it would be if you had just put some blue light blockers on in the first place. So the bare minimum that you can do for your digital detox is put some blue light glasses on at least an hour before bed. So you can still watch your telly, still go on your phone, but it isn't ruining your sleep. Now, lastly and finally is stress. Now, when we look at stress, we must look at the nervous system. So when we look at the nervous system, we can split it into two simple parts. We've got the sympathetic nervous system, which is in line with your fight or flight response. You might be familiar with that. Cortisol, adrenaline, etc., which basically allows you to either flee from a situation, fight in a situation, or freeze and not be able to move or talk. And then the other side of the nervous system, we have the parasympathetic nervous system. Think a parachute. Parachute slows you down. That's in line with your rest and digest. Now, it's not that in modern day society we're walking into a busy pub and screaming, who wants it first? I just need to put my fucking fist through the door. And your parasympathetic nervous system is being stimulated in that way. It's more so that we don't have enough downtime, because we are meant to experience peaks and troughs of both. We're meant to be in our sympathetic nervous system when we're training, and we want that cortisol, we want that adrenaline to push ourselves physically, or when you wake up on a morning, you want to get up when your alarm goes off and you want to be able to get out of bed with good energy and be in a good mood. That's what cortisol is there for. We are meant to have those stimulations of sympathetic nervous system response. Now, we are also meant to have peaks and troughs of your parasympathetic nervous system as well. But with modern day society, because we always have your boss breathing down your neck, to-do lists to do, kids to manage, pets to sort out, the house to tidy, a long list of jobs to do all the time, we are constantly in this go nervous system response, because we don't prioritize any behaviors that get us and allow us to enter our parasympathetic nervous system. So stress is all about learning how to manage and have peaks and troughs of this nervous system response. Because if we are constantly in that sympathetic state, it's going to be high cortisol, it's going to be increased cravings, it's going to be less energy, and it's going to be basically you being overstimulated all the time and not being as productive or not getting as good fat loss and muscle building results as you could do. Because stress directly affects how much muscle you can build and how you lose body fat. So, begs the question, what behaviors do we need to concentrate on to make sure that we can enter that parasympathetic state? Well, let us cover you some. First one is going to be stretching and yoga. So a really good way for you to tune in and get that mind-body connection and just put the screens away, the phone, the tablet, the iPad, the TV, etc. And just tune in and get some what's called biofeedback, i.e. you tuning in to, oh, that stretch feels like, oh, it's stretching. Oh, that's a bit too much. We'll go a little bit further back. Is a really good way for you to enter that parasympathetic nervous system. Of course, you've got yoga, which is kind of like a guided stretch, mobility, sort of flow. Again, if you want any pointers or tutorials on that, there's some great YouTube videos out there. Just drop us a message. We've got meditation, which is great for you being able to pull yourself away from your thoughts and basically not just think you are your thoughts, and allow yourself to have a little bit of a third eye perspective and a bird's eye view on your life. Reading and journaling, so reading is brilliant for getting your brain into brain waves, which allow yourself to calm down. And of course, journaling, getting your thoughts out your head and down on paper, can be a fantastic way if you're overwhelmed or confused or anxious or agitated, to make sense of how you're feeling. Now, the last one that I wanted to mention was breath work, because breath work is quite special. It really is, because it's a way of you being able to tune your automatic nervous system responses. What I mean by that is with the breath, you can actually calm your nervous system very, very well. But there is a certain breath work technique to be able to do that. Now, I'm not going to take you through like box breathing or breathe in for 6 and out for fucking 10 or whatever it is. All I want you to do is concentrate on one thing. And this strategy was actually from Gabs, which changed the game for me. And the little quote is, smell the roses, blow out the candles. Simple as that. So what you're going to do, again, I'm going to do this with you, do it with us as I do it on the actual podcast, is breathe in through your nose and try and use the bottom chambers of your lungs. Get that big deep breath in and try and literally inhale as much of the air around you. So big deep breath in. And then as you breathe out, you're going to blow out the candles through pursed lips. And as you breathe out, you want to imagine you're breathing out all those anxious thoughts and worries and overwhelming sort of kind of feelings that you get mentally. Now, the reason of this is to try and exhale for longer than you inhale. And that's how you're going to massively help regulate your nervous system and get into that parasympathetic state. Now, there are other ones and behaviours that you can do, and we do implement quite a few in Thrive and on the bioalignment method and in the habit hacker system. But nonetheless, there's some good ones to get you started. So they are the 5 habits, and they're exactly how, if you lock all of them down, you're going to be a very happy, healthy human being. But not only that, you're going to lose weight, keep your muscle tissue. So when you lose that 2, 3, 4 stone, you get there and you're absolutely buzzing with your results. Now, if you've got any questions on any of the strategies, any of the calculations, any of the methods that I've mentioned throughout this episode, please don't hesitate to drop us a message. I'm going to put the link to my Instagram profile in the show notes. So if you do have any, drop me a message on there. It will be me replying to you. I'm the only person who runs anything behind the scenes. I'm a one-man band, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Have an amazing day. Anything you need, you know what to do, and I'll see you in the next episode. Love you, bye. You're doing great.